Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kendra and I am filming this, what is it? It's 20 minutes to 7 in the evening, technically speaking. I was gonna film this tomorrow, but listen, I finished this blanket today and I immediately started another one. And I kinda need to stop myself now before I cripple my hands. So I'm gonna sit down here and talk about books. This is my first time doing a themed video and I'm like a little bit nervous but still excited. So I'm an egocentric Icelander and I just want to get that out of the way. Whenever I see anything about Iceland I will click onto it because I'm curious to see what it's about. I am curious to find out what other people think about my nation, about my country. Whether it's good or bad, like, don't care at the same time that I do, because honestly other people's opinion isn't gonna inform on my own, but it's still interesting to find, see what other people think. Basically to find out what we can fix. So inspiration for this video is twofold actually. The first one is this book, Sprakkar, by our First Lady Eliza Reid. This is a book that she wrote during COVID. And this is the only book in Icelandic. The egocentric Icelander doesn't read that much Icelandic. It's a little bit embarrassing to admit, but yeah, this is the only book in Icelandic that I've actually read in like over half a year. I do know the English translation, the English version, not translation, she is Canadian. And she wrote it in English because obviously easier for her. The English version came out in February, and if you're interested in anything Icelandic, I need to recommend this book. I love this book. I haven't fallen in love with a book quite like this for years. What this book is essentially Liza's love letter to Iceland, an Icelandic woman in particular. She talks about essentially what we are doing well as people, and whatever criticism that she has, she presents it in such a nice and kind way that you can't take it badly. Like, literally, you cannot be insulted by this book. It's sweet, it's funny, and it's honest. And honestly, the criticism that she does put forward is all like basically things that we already know, but it's really good to talk about them and represent them so that we keep them at the top of our mind, so we have things that need fixing and need to be worked on. And as I said, this book is one of 3 that literally inspired me to want to make a themed video. The other 2 are The Nordic Theory of Everything in Search of a Better Life by Anu Partanen. She is a Finnish person living in America. I still haven't read this one. I am very interested in it, but it's a rather thick for non-fiction, and I've been reading a little bit too much non-fiction currently. I am very excited to get started on this one though, because as I said, she lives in America, and basically it's the cultural difference between, for example, Finland or Northern Europe in as a whole. The complete difference between the social structure and culture structure of United States and Northern Europe, and that's about it that I know about this book, but I'm very interested in it. The other book is Michael Booth, The Almost Nearly Perfect People, Behind the Myth of the Scandinavian Utopia. Michael Booth is a very, very English man, very, very English, who is married to a lovely Danish lady. I have no idea who she is. They have 2 kids and they live in Denmark. And I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed with this book. Like, it's not bad, it's just not what I kind of expected. Like I said, I'm an egocentric Icelander. I expected more about Iceland, but I haven't quite finished reading this book because I really just wanted to read about that came out really badly. I wanted to read the chapter on Iceland, but I also wanted to have a little bit more of his thoughts on the other countries as a frame of reference. Now, he obviously writes mostly about Denmark. That's the orange to yellow here. Maybe like this. Oh yeah. So orange to yellow, that's Denmark. Yellow to green, that's Iceland. Green to pink is Norway. Pink to blue is Finland, and blue to purple is Sweden. No, blue to pink is Sweden. I've only got Sweden left, but I think I have enough to voice my opinion on this book in this video. This book originally came out in 2014 in the UK. It's pretty obvious that it was all the research was done between 2009 to 2012-13 possibly. Yeah, it's already quite a bit outdated. This book came out in 2015, this particular issue, and as for the Itty Bitty chapter on Iceland, like I said, disappointed by it. Well, first off, he has a very Danish perspective on Icelandic history. He kind of like just skips over it and kind of excuses what influence Denmark has had in Iceland. He seems rather ignorant on Danish influence on Iceland. For example, the fact that the Danish merchants had a monopoly of Icelandic everything for centuries. He does not take that into consideration of the situation in Iceland after the economic 2009, when the economy collapsed. The nail but is out there. Like, it's weird. The first chapter is Haukat, because of course, if you think about Iceland, you're gonna think about shark, and I'm really disappointed about it because he says it's the most disgusting thing he's ever tasted, and it's shark that he got off of a restaurant. You know what the type of shark you get at restaurants? You get the sweet part. You get the tourist shark. If you want real shark, you get to know an older man. Literally, you go look and you go where the fish is sold. You find an older man with a staying smirk on his face who will come running to you to offer you a taste of really stinky shark. I'm sorry if I'm coming across as passionate, but seriously, you have not tasted shark unless you have taken a good sized chunk of bite of a shark that is yellow and kind of turning brown. It has reached a point where it doesn't really have taste, and you just stand there bawling your eyes out because your body has no other reaction available to it. And for this Englishman to be all like, oh no, I tasted a white shark and it was devastating, honey. The white shark, the tourist shark that does smell, yes, because it does have ammonia. That is the lowest grade of shark. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's the second grade. The lowest grade is actually the sweetest possibly tasting shark that you can ever have. I've only tasted it once from a really sweet man. That's the whole story. I will come to that in some other time. But that tourist shark, not the strongest. The more yellow and the more brown it is, the stronger it tastes. Shark is not the strongest tasting fish or sea swimming thingy you can taste in Iceland. The top side, the crown of that has to go to the skate. That one taste. The taste is one thing. The smell, it can whack you to whole buildings. I hate skate. But those, we get trumped. We get trumped by the sweets of all things. And I probably should have read the chapter on Sweden, but I kind of doubt that he mentioned it. We have shark. It tastes depending on what you eat. We have skate. can whack your whole buildings. We get taught by the Swedes. What do the Swedes do? They take herring, they can it, and then they take the can and they put it in a shed and they leave it there until the can bulges. And that's the point upon which the Swedes call it ready. Nothing has made grown Icelandic men who are raised on shark and skate cry and throw up. I can already tell that most of this will be me rambling about Michael Booth. Fantastic. He also makes the statement that he's researched Icelandic history and calls it short. But the thing about Icelandic history is that we have been here 1100 years, over millennia. And for you to call Icelandic history short when you then cover about 200 years of Finnish history, and you don't call that short, kind of doubt your words. Chapter 2, Bankers, and he mostly make this to make a dig at Americans, literally. Like, there's a quote by Michael Lewis writing in Vanity Fair, April 2009, at the beginning of this chapter. It's a thing. And he literally used this chapter to make a dig at Michael Lewis at the end of the Icelandic segment. And he also... The other weird thing about Michael Booth in this book is that he keeps claiming that he doesn't believe in the theory that people are formed by their environment, kinda. Might be a misunderstanding, but I'm annoyed. But at the same time, he keeps insinuating that Icelanders should be more Scandinavian. I know, I'm getting a really weird vibe from this chapter, because apparently we aren't Scandinavian enough because we don't behave like the Danish, although in the past, 11 years since this... No, wait, sorry. In the past years, at least since this book came out, the Danes have not been the... at the top. All the Norwegians, all the Swedes. He also makes a really strange point of going into a hotel or restaurant, still making a point that he didn't buy anything. And then backing out because not even the Swedes would put camembert and tandoori sauce in a burger. That doesn't sound like very adventurous to me. Let's see, and then chapter 3, Denmark, and he pretty much just gets over Danish influence in Iceland. Chapter 4, elves, because of course the stereotype. And the thing is though, the folk tales of elves are mostly around the southwestern corner, you know, where they, for some reason, like, I have a theory about that actually, because I've actually read Icelandic folk tales. I read this when I was a child. And the thing about the folk tales is that most elfin stories happen wherever there is volcanic activity. And it seems that the sounds of volcanoes and those strange events that follow with volcanic activities, people simply connect them with something that they didn't understand, and because humans are humans, they decided that there had to be something human-shaped at the cause of it, hence the hidden people. There's a whole there's a whole thing about the hidden ones. Call them elves is very British actually. The thing that I don't understand though is why everyone is so focused on Iceland being so quirky and believing in elves. Why does no one mention ghosts? Icelanders are really big on ghosts. Like, you can ask any Icelander, we will pretty much all, well, those of us who will admit it, we will pretty much all have stories about ghosts. Think on it. Yeah, think. And the last chapter is Steam, because of course we had to mention that. So if there was a bingo card about Icelandic cliches to hit in one book, he would hit it. Not the biggest fan. So I've been rambling about this quite a bit. But in conclusion, the chapter about Iceland, he starts it with, let me just read it out. You could argue that Iceland shouldn't even be in this book. The Icelanders probably would, and I do. Neither Iceland nor Finland are part of this of Scandinavia. The Scandinavian peninsula is Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. That is a geographical fact. But he makes this writerly executive decision to use the word Scandinavia because he likes it better. But honestly, the chapter about Iceland, literally he probably just got a cheap weekend trip to Iceland, stayed a couple of nights in Reykjavik, did minimal research, then took the Golden Circle. Like, he does mention going to the Jökulsárlón, where at the time there was a very nice flooding of the glacier in Jökulsárlón, where there was a lot of glacier fragments all across the sand, and he mentions picking up one of the fragments and licking it. So he at least did something interesting in Iceland. He also mentions going to the Blue Lagoon, which is another cliche. And he does the cliche of complaining about the Blue Lagoon being crowded. And then he complains that he goes to the edges where there are less people, and then complains, literally this adult man complaining that the reason why there were few people around the edges is because the edges is where the water is really, really, really hot. He also complains that he didn't feel very relaxed because he did a crab walk via the Blue Lagoon. So the waters in the Blue Lagoon reached him to mid-thigh, so he decided to crab walk. You know what? Listen, if you ever have the pleasure of going to the Blue Lagoon, you're not going to crab walk. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take advantage of the fact that you are in water. You're gonna lay down on your stomach, you're gonna let yourself float, and then you're gonna use your arms to walk forward. That's way, way, way more relaxing than what Michael Booth did. And the fact that he claims that he studied or checked out Icelandic history and doesn't know anything. Michael Booth, may I recommend the next book in this video? Actually written by an Icelander, Egill Bjarnason, How Iceland Changed the World. Now, I initially bought this book because it annoyed me, or rather the Amazon page did. Because for some reason, all stars below 3 stars disappeared. And all comments, all the reviews on the Amazon webpage below 5 stars disappeared. And that annoyed me because there was two very interesting comments that I actually wanted to reread before I decided to buy this book, because they were from people who gave 3 stars because it wasn't quite what they expected. They were expecting more like of geothermal energies and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, got annoyed by the fact that the comments were erased, and so I bought the book and I was annoyed by it, but then I read the book and I actually love it because it's funny, and indeed it doesn't cover geothermal energy or anything of that sort, because that's not the focus of this book. The focus of this book is actually the history of Iceland from beginning until now, and it is funny, but not of the laugh at me because I'm being British funny. No. This is generally funny. This literally deals... How do I explain this book? It pokes fun of Icelanders and Icelandic history, but it doesn't mock it. There's a difference between making fun of something and mocking it. And Egill Bjarnason doesn't mock it, he makes fun of it, but he does also bring up points that are good. I actually found myself arguing with the... I was arguing with the book in the first chapter because he was bringing up points and viewpoints and little nuggets of history that I didn't agree with. And I love that. I did learn from this book, and the fact that he also brought up personal touches, like the chapter on the moonwalk, when I'm sorry, there's a bee queen just buzzing around my windows. I'm just really happy they're closed. How big is he? Well, she's about the size of my thumb. And she's pretty, but I don't want her inside. But anyway, This book, it does deal with, literally, with the history of Iceland. It's, want to see, the discovery of the Western medieval legacy, Iceland triggers a climatic crisis, nationalism, World War II, the birth of World War II, the birth of Israel, the moon landing, the Cold War, and gender equality. And the chapter on the moon landing actually brought up an interesting point of view that I never considered. Like, we do learn about the moon landing in Iceland and how the crew went to Iceland to learn how to walk on the moon. Oh, it's a thing. What the author here does is bring in the personal touch. He brings up the point of the, for example, the person who actually went and took the astronauts fishing, and the chapter ends with him. It ends on that person's perspective of how he felt seeing his fishing buddy walk on the moon, and that's a point of perspective that I just had never ever considered. I was so prepared to hate this book because, literally because of the Amazon webpage, then I ended up actually liking it, and I'm like, how dare you? You broke my expectations. You turned it around. Yeah, I did end up liking this book. Another book that I was very excited for is by Kendra Greene. The Museum of Whales You Will Never See, Travels Among the Collectors of Iceland, and I absolutely adore this cover. The cover design is by Dan Mockford, and I love it. So this Kendra Greene is an artist and writer American who is very closely connected to museums throughout her career and her lifetime. She's been working with a lot of museums, and she's a museum enthusiast, and she decided to go to Iceland and find out about museums because she was struck by the fact that in Iceland there are so many museums, considering the fact that there aren't that many Icelanders. And I just love that concept, and I love the fact that many of these museums, as she talks about, are museums that I am familiar with. So, for example, the Steina St. Petru, or the stone collection of Petra, which is in a fjord not that far away from me. And I love the fact that her approach to the material is always personal. She always makes a point of writing about the people and their personal perspective. She does go a little lyrical, and sometimes it's a little difficult to follow, but it's still a nice book. It is a collection of essays, and I do believe that 2 of them were already published. Oh yeah, 3 of them actually. Anatomy of Museum, that's about the Phallological Museum. The Stone Collector, that is Petra. And Vagrants and Uncommon Visitors, I loved that chapter. It's about the there's a museum in Miwa that is all about birds. Love it. I still have to visit it because unfortunately everyone in my family and my friends, they always just go past. They're like, no, we're going somewhere, we don't have time. Why not? I want to go visit. That is one of my missions. I want to go to that museum. Again, nice. About the title though, I was very intrigued to find out how in the world she never managed to find the museum on the whale museum. Now the main whale museum is in Húsavík, and I was really intrigued how in the world she managed to not find it because it's advertised everywhere. Turns out she does know where it is. She just doesn't quite want to visit it. Not because she isn't. No, not because she doesn't agree with it. Because it's because essentially for her that museum is kind of like a dream, and the feeling that I get is more the if she actually does cross that threshold, that vision and that dream and the images that she has of the museum is gonna burst the bubble, and I can appreciate it. And I do respect that opinion. I would, however, recommend that you do visit the museum because it is gorgeous. It was gorgeous over a decade ago when I last went to visit. It was shaping up gorgeously. It was still way under construction at the time. But now, it looks so fine. It looks so fantastic. So if you are interested in Icelandic museums, I do need to recommend. It is very poetic and lyrical, but still, I so love the fact that she went and visited these museums, because most of these museums and collections are personal. They are always going to be based on a person and a vision and a dream and memories. Okay, so before I lose the light, I'm battling the battery. But yeah. So I said that I was an ecocentric Icelander, and I stand by that. The only reason I bought this cutie is because it has Iceland in the title. So this is Snug in Iceland by Victoria Walker. This is a romance novel. I'm not a romance reader. I am not the target demographic for this. But I was researching books to include in this video because, I mean, I felt like it was enough to have this and this, basically. So, I literally looked up the word Iceland and this cute little romance novel popped up, and I'm like, well, why not? I can always try and read it. Also, I was really intrigued by the cover, which is about 50% Icelandic. The snow and the northern lights, yes. Tree line, we wish. Architecture, we wish. Not fine. So, about this book. I kind of adore it. I really adore it. Victoria Walker is a British author. This is self-published via Amazon, and I really didn't realize it until I got the book. I'm like, why does it feel so strange? Because it's fully on Amazon Prime. I don't dislike it though, it's just a little different from what I'm used to. This is her first book. This is Victoria Walker's first book, and what inspired her to write her first novel was a visit to Iceland. She was so inspired, literally inspired by Iceland, that she wrote her first novel. And just that fact alone makes me really proud. It makes me so happy that the mere existence of my country inspired someone to write their first novel. I am so proud of her, and I'm so ridiculously happy about it. I'm just, for me, that's enough. However, this is such a cute story. I am, yeah, like I said, I am not a romance reader. I am not the target demographic for this. But it's really cute. Now, the thing about romance novels is that there is an agreement, kind of. We know that they are gonna have a happy ending. We know that people are gonna get together. Is it gonna be this character or this character? Like, we know there's a happy ending. We don't know how we're gonna get to it, but we know there's a happy ending. So we have our main heroine, Rachel, who is in a relationship with Adam, but Adam is... he takes everything for granted. He takes the entire relationship and Rachel for granted. So Rachel is working for this company called Snug, who are opening a new storefront in Iceland. I love a punny name. So it's both allusion to the fictional company opening a store in Iceland, but also you're really snug in this story in Iceland. So yeah, so Rachel goes to Iceland to open this new store, and she may meet Jonas, as it's Anglicized, and Mr. Tour Guide, and let's just say it's cute. It's cute. The story is so cute. However, with all the human characters in the story and all that lovely love letters and just this lovely love story, I am reading a rather different love story from this. I am reading a romance between Rachel and Iceland. I am not joking. The descriptions of Victoria Walker of For example, Blue Lagoon. Listen, the difference between Michael Booth and his visit to the Blue Lagoon pales in comparison to how Victoria Walker describes the Blue Lagoon for when her heroine goes to visit. It's magical. How she describes the visit to Blue Lagoon, how she describes seeing this snowfall in Reykjavik when it just goes completely blind, how she describes this short day, taking just everything, how she describes taking a walk down Laugavörðustígur, how she has her heroine go for a swim in Laugardalslaug, eating a hot dog. She romanticizes eating a hot dog, and I ate it up as much as Rachel ate that hot. Listen, I am very proud of being an Icelander. I love everything. Many things about my country and my nation and culture and all the things. But reading how Victoria Walker describes that hot dog, and it just made me realize I was reading two romance lines. I was reading the romance between Rachel and those her two guys, and whichever one she ends up with. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm also reading the romance between Rachel and Iceland, and it was just, listen, reading this straight after reading Michael Booth kinda, I'm not gonna say that he left me depressed, because that it takes a lot to leave me depressed. He left me disappointed, and I think that's the worst thing that a book can actually do. It kind of disappointed me how he chose to present his research. But Snug in Iceland, just, it has a spark, it has a life, it has a love. And I really needed that. I definitely needed to read this book right after that one. So yes, even though I am not the target demographic, and even though I'm not a romance reader, I can fully respect and adore this book, because it was exactly what I needed right at this point. And just finding out that my country and the visit to it inspired someone to start their journey as a writer, this makes me happy. So that's the 5 books that I read that are kind of like inspired by Iceland, and most of them I recommend. I definitely heartily recommend Sprakkar, because it's a love letter. I can recommend Snug in Iceland because it's also a love letter of a honestly very similar kind. I can recommend this one because it is also a love letter. This book is interesting. I will grant it that. I don't want to be negative, but I am disappointed by the chapter of Iceland because it felt phoned in. But if you're interested in it, I can't fault you for it. It is interesting, it's just not what I expected. If you do want to read more about actual Icelandic history and flavor, I would definitely recommend How Iceland Changed the World. And honestly, if you want more insight in as a foreigner into Iceland, Kendra Greene's. Definitely. These 2 books rather than this, unfortunately. Unless you want to read about the Scandinavian utopia, maybe. I am very excited about reading this one. Again, I didn't quite find the time the past months to read it. I am. Because this is kind of different from what I was interested in. Like, this doesn't involve Iceland, but it did still inspire this video. So, still on my to read pile. These 5 books. Can I say inspired by Iceland, except for this one? So it's 4 books inspired by Iceland. So yeah, that concludes my first themed video on this channel. And I filmed it because I'm trying not to crochet. But yeah, if you watch this video, please drop me a line of what you thought of it, like what I can do better. maybe not be so distracted by bee queens, but honestly, there are 2 of them just flying around like maniacs. It's currently 8:30, concluding this. Yeah, they, darlings, are absolutely wishing about. But yeah, please tell me what you think. Yeah. If you read any of those books, if you're interested in any of them, I will put the titles and the author names down below. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will. There they go again. I get so scared that they're gonna fly smack into the window and knock themselves out. Like, they are too precious. They are too valuable to knock themselves out on my windows. Anyway, enough about the bees. If you like this video, please drop me a comment and tell me. And yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully you will check something else out on my channel. And see you later. Okay, take care. Bless.